Hi, I'm Dr. Faranak Kamangar, and welcome to the Future of Dermatology podcast. We're here to talk about the real science behind skin, the medical breakthroughs, the cosmetic innovations, and everything in between.
Hi all, this is Farah here. I'm going to take about 10 seconds of your time. So, we've been doing this podcast for a while now, and we have had a blast with it. And I love the growth we've seen. It's beyond our imagination. And we've had, thousands of dermatologists listening monthly. And I think we may be the number one or close to the number one dermatology facing podcast, which is an incredible honor. And something cool just happened. We heard that we were nominated for the Women Podcasters Network, which is a prestigious network of women who do podcasts. I mean, for me, I have to thank Stephanie Cullen, our podcast producer, for a lot of the work that's going into this. So this is really an award that the Future of Dermatology would really share with her. But I'd like to ask the votes. People have to vote for it. So you get nominated and there's a voting process, and the votes are available from April 1st to April 30th, 2026. So Stephanie is going to kindly attach this message with a link below during the month of April. Feel free to take a second and go on and maybe vote for us if you'd like. I'm guessing you're here, so you may want to vote for us. That's an assumption, but that would be very cool. I would love this for us, and I would love this for Steph because she's worked so hard in bringing you guys all so much dermatology knowledge. And thanks again. Hello. We are back with our AAD Part 2 AI agentic workflows. I gave 2 talks at the AAD in Denver this year on AI. The first one was on AI pearls. This is part 2 and was covering some of the topics from my second talk, which went over agentic workflows and understanding what that means in the world, but also in healthcare. I do have to say before I start, AAD this year was just incredible with the amount of dermatologists coming up to me, and one speaking about the podcast, which was incredible, and also DermGPT sharing their insights and telling me all the way they're using it and all the ways they would like help with using it. So it's on our list to do. I've taken all the notes. This is now the week after the AAD, so I've taken all the notes and brought it back to our team, and we are working on it. I mean, it is so invigorating to have so much love and community support that also just helps us to know, okay, we're on the right path. We can do this together. It's really possible to build that future of dermatology where we're cutting out that 5 hours extra work that we don't need to be doing. Imagine a world where you just go in, you see your patients, and you pretty much leave, pretty quickly after, and the work is done. That's not that far into the future. We're doing a lot of the elements now. I think now the important part is just synthesizing it and putting it together. So I'm really excited this next year for all the things we're going to be doing. And I'm going to share with you step by step what I'm doing and how it can be possible, because I know many of us are stuck in workflow. Some of the questions that came up to me, I had immediate agentic workflow solutions for. Like someone said, yeah, the AI scribes are good, but I still have to proofread that note. So if I have to proofread it, then it's not that helpful. And it is true. So if there's an AI solution where you have to still spend a lot of time, it's not that helpful. But immediately as they were talking, I thought about our 3-tier agentic approach where we have multiple agents proofread each other and each one has a different task. You're proofreading for a different goal. For example, for DermGPT, our Derm Guardian agent, that agent proofreads all responses for a specific reason to not miss things and to make sure that there aren't extra errors, things like that. So agentic workflows are incredible. They can achieve a lot of the kind of correctness that we need, the accuracy, and the tasks that we need. Because it's true, the AI doing the work is not like the work is done. You're still going in and doing some elements on top of it. But where can we add agents in where we even decrease some of your cognitive load in checking the AI? Again, trust is verify is a big thing that everyone says. And of course, you have to trust but verify. But if there are just less elements for you to have to review, it's just faster cognitive load. And the agentic workflows are incredible. So, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, what else people asked? Many asked, how do you start with AI literacy? What do you have to learn? And I said, don't make it too hard. Go back to the prompt. I mean, the way we see a lot of dermatologists are still prompting, they're using less than 9 words or so. And that's kind of like Google. That's putting in words and looking for probabilities. That's a syntactic search. So AI can do a semantic search, meaning it can really understand you. It can conversate with you. So use this technology to its fullest ability and use it right. So it actually has meaningful impact for you. And so we did a lot of AI prompting tips and lots of great content. I have a notebook of um, suggestions from people and ideas from the weekend, and we're synthesizing all of it. All of it's going to be incorporated, and just so incredibly grateful for our community through our podcast, our DermGPT, our SF Derm conferences. I am more than ever just so connected to our dermatology community, and so dedicated to what we're doing, because not everybody outside of dermatology understands what we're trying to do, but within it, we really uniquely understand our value and what we bring and what we need to build. So if I can in any way enable other dermatologists to do this great work, then I'll have done my job. But to the content, I'll stop there and I'll get to the content. So we talked about agentic workflows. And what are agents? The first slide I showed actually was like this funny meme of just a guy holding a martini on a beach, and it says actual photo of a doctor seen smiling in 1996 before the advent of patient portals. And so, I mean, there was a world before EHRs. I'm not against EHRs. I love that we've digitized healthcare. That's how we have AI. So I'm all for it. But we cannot overlook that the crazy act of digitization was insanely hard. Like, no wonder we're burnt out. It's basically something that we just did. There was the High Tech Act of 2009 that said there are incentives to digitize and have an EHR, and then disincentives are penalizing if you don't have it. So this immediate kind of almost seemed like overnight work that a couple of generations of docs had to do of digitizing all of healthcare and medicine. This was done through the patient notes, like one chart by chart, but also a lot of our publications, our research. This is the data that feeds into healthcare AI. Without the work of physicians, this mass digitization, we wouldn't have the building blocks of any of the work we're doing. Now, a lot of the tech companies are taking a lot of the building blocks and building things off of that, but of course, those are ethical considerations maybe for another time. But I just mainly mentioned that so that we know the hard work we've done. It's kind of like musicians where they say, hey, we own the music, and we, own it, and they go after Spotify, et cetera. But for Apple Music, I mean, the blood, sweat, and tears of the physicians have led to this rich data sets. And then really what should be happening is with the EHRs, with technologies, ideally in an office, there's maybe about like 20% of the touch points that should get to the physician or the dermatologist, so they can spend like 80% or more of their time seeing patients and diagnosing, talking to people, synthesizing information. And then hopefully the medical team, medical assistants, registered nurses, and the environment ecosystem is handling the other 80%. But we all know in reality that it's not like that. I mean, we see 80% of the touch points still. So we're also doing that on top of seeing the patients and doing the diagnostics. So we know that for every 8 hours of scheduled patient time, we spend 5 hours on the electronic health records. I mean, that is one of the simple factors that's led to burnout. There's a few others, but it's just, there's not enough hours in a day, and that can't last for that long. We did it though. Generations of medical physicians did this hours on top of their clinic days to digitize. This was the infrastructure tax that we have paid. But what it's led to is this generation created the richest structured longitudinal clinical data set in human history. And that's made AI possible, healthcare AI. Physicians built it, so we really should now reap some benefits of it. And we really can do it because there's been a lot of advancements. We had traditional Google search back in the day. Now we have generative AI chatbots where you can actually conversate with the AI. And the next iteration is agentic AI. I showed some slides from the past couple of AADs. I think I also talked about this on our last episode of just the changes even as we go through the years for the AAD. 2024, we were talking about GPT-3 and GPT-4, and we were really excited for GPT-5 to come out. At the time, DermGPT had about 3,000 peer-reviewed articles that we had curated. Now we have over 60,000, and we have multi-level agentic AI. So really cool changes. In 2025, when we were waiting for GPT-5 to come out, the reasoning models just took the front stage with OpenAI O1, O3 Mini, DeepSeek R1, and the ability to conversate with AI and these reasoning abilities really changed the landscape. What we thought is coming next, and again, it will likely come one day, is artificial superintelligence. But really what we have found since is it's not the smartest kid in the room that matters. It's kind of the most useful. So the agentic AI workflows have really now taken front stage because we need the AI to do things for us. It's been nice that we've been talking and chatting and interviewing each other for some time now with generative chatbots, but now we got to get down to work. Let's get some things done, and that's agentic workflows. Again, we reviewed what large language models are, how they're trained. I know we've talked about these things a lot in the past podcast episodes, so I won't go into them too in depth, but I will just mention again that what matters is the data sets that you put in. So with the healthcare LLMs, DermGPT also being one of them, these are traditional RAG models. So the data that you put in, how you curate, really affects what you get out. But also your prompts matter. How you prompt is super important as well. We know with DermGPT that prompting is a skill that's hard for some physicians, which is why we've even built the prompting agents that they'll prompt for you. For example, if you want to do a case consult, instead of typing out a whole thing, you go into one of the agents and it knows the goal of what you're trying to do. So even if you say less words, it still gets you. The handout agent, the in-basket patient portal agent, RN triage agents, all things that you could write out exactly what you want, or you could go in through the agent where it understands your role and what you're trying to do. So again, if we get the agents correctly, you can really 10x your office. You can 10x yourself as the dermatologist. So you can do 10 times the work. You can 10x your registered nurses with workflows like patient message responding, triaging, and offloading MD cognitive load. You can 10x your medical assistants. Huge burden is the prior authorizations, the intake forms, aftercare instructions. So if used properly, you can really run a well-oiled machine. We talked about a few use cases for agents. Of course, there's infinite amount, but we talked about scheduling agents, these workflows that can come in and do the scheduling for you. This, I caution to be careful with anything that's patient-facing. We're not fully ready to get rid of the human touch. So sometimes when you call a number, let's say you're calling a restaurant and trying to put an order, and the AI agent picks up, there's a part of you that's like, oh gosh, how is this going to go? Of course, if that interaction goes well, like I can imagine a case where it's after hours, you want to call the doctor's office. Instead of saying, sorry, we're closed, call at 8 a.m. Maybe if the agent takes care of what you need to at 8 p.m. and schedules and does things for you, that's actually a good use case. But if it's daytime and the person could pick up and you're getting a bad agent and it's not doing what you need to be doing and you're going in loops, then that's not a good situation. But again, done right, there are really good use cases to making patients contact our offices easier and filling in slots and wait lists that automatically fill and send patients messages to schedule. Then there are prior authorization agents. I mean, this workflow is huge. If we can get this right, prior auths are very automatable and agentable, if that's a word. So, and prior auths are a use case that we are all happy to give up. I mean, AI could take that over all day. We do not mind that. We can let that one go. So let's keep on chugging along to just get that off our list. Things like biopsy result agents, I mean, things like that need a lot of supervision. But again, there are workflows that can be automated. Second opinion agents, where you're just talking about a complex clinical decision, synthesizing some literature data. Super useful case for the agent to be like a colleague that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of. Scribes, this was an area we actually talked about a lot and a lot of questions came up. Scribes can be incredibly helpful, but we all agree that they're not like quite there just yet, meaning that they're somewhat helpful. It's kind of nice if you just missed a note and a week later everything's transcribed. So there's some ways where they're super helpful, but they still need a lot of review and alteration and edits. So they're not quite at the stage where you just walk in, see a patient, walk out, and your note is done. But again, I will say we're not far off from that. We're doing some of that work with our agents too. So more to come on that from DermGPT. Patient education agents are incredible. I mean, that's a really good use case, especially with physician oversight. RN triage agents really can reduce the touch points from the physician, but accurately triage RNs of all level. An RN that's been there for 20 years in the derm department or a new RN that's learning the workflows. These are incredible tools. And we also just joke that another technology that we love in our office is just DoorDash because, you can get your coffee immediately to your door. I mean, there's a lot of technologies to access within that space of the office to make lives easier. We ideated about the possibility of go enter the room with a patient, the AI listens with patient consent, you do your exam, and then you walk out, you leave the room, patient care is complete, and your note is drafted, your orders are suggested, and you could even have extra bells and whistles like billing optimization, patient education, prior auth alert, maybe quality metrics like your MIPS and MACRA. These are all not only possible, but are available. One of the things is that there's not a lot of time spent to make them perfect for dermatology, and that's why we have to take these general tools and kind of mold them to fit us, which is why it's not totally perfect yet, but we're also not far off from it. So this is something we should chase very heavily because that will improve so much of our lives if we don't have this giant note burden. One of the slides I showed is the note heard around the world, and it's like a picture of Freddie Mercury doing his like "Ayo," and really it comes down to every note you chart, you note that you've finished is kind of like this triumphant event because what a note does is when you have everything written, patients can have access to that for education, the chart can get sent for billing. Billing can be done more accurately. Prior auths have a quicker approval, higher rate of approval if you have all the necessary parts in your note, fewer denials, improved collections, life just compounds and gets better. Everyone's happy. You have more time with patients. I mean, we got to get the note thing right, guys. If nothing else, if AI achieves nothing else, we have to get the clinical note right. And we're almost there. And then we talked about what things are a green light, yellow light, and red light. Like what's a total no-brainer agent to use? Prior auth, for sure. Take that off our list, our to-do list any day. We're happy to give up any of those workflows. Billing, coding specialists, those things can be automated. Scheduling, plus and minus, as long as make sure you're not making your patients that's trying to come into your clinic angry with trying to schedule a visit. But if done right, there's helpful things there. Insurance verification is a no-brainer. And then collecting payment at point of care with insurance verification, because we all know that collecting payments later on is a whole task. Credentialing administrator, there's a lot of green light for sure to do. Then there's kind of some yellow lights like your medical assistants, nurse triage, scribe. They still need some oversight. So you're not going to just like let those deploy those and never look at them again. Then there's some really red lights. I think, there's just some things we shouldn't give up. Definitely not now and maybe not ever. Diagnostics, clinical decision-making, clinical judgment. I mean, I know AI sounds like it's really good, but I would say it's not quite that good yet or might not ever be. So, there's a lot of ethics, medical, legal concerns. So there are parts we should not part with too easily. And again, we're not ready to lose the human touch. This is about reclaiming medicine. This is about us having more time with our patients and more time to do the things we like to do, which is diagnose, treat, and help patients. It's about getting rid of that 5 hours. It's not really about entering into that 8 hours of patient-facing time. Like, we don't want to get rid of that. That's our favorite part. That's why we went into medicine. But that extra 5 hours, that digitization that was kind of forced upon us, that we can part with. There's a lot of tools now that, because of the groundwork that we've laid down, because of the digitization, the AI can now help us get rid of that, excess work. So those were some of the top things we talked about. We also talked about agents for outside things, like someone was talking about posting on social media and how they pay someone, and you can kind of find someone even abroad to help you with that task. And we said, well, why don't you just use an agent for that? There are many things like maybe Claude Cowork that you can build a skill. You are my social media manager, and this is my voice. These are the things I'm okay sharing. These are the things I'm not okay sharing. You could take Media Kit resources from even the AAD Media Kit part of their website and use those. Like, for example, they have a calendar of what's relevant, like what conditions are relevant for a month or days, like psoriasis day, etc. And you could plug those resources into an agent and connect it to your Canva to make nice posts. You can connect it to your Instagram to actually do the posting. There are a lot of use cases for agents. That was maybe a popular one we talked about, but really anything you can think of and you're like, that's kind of a hard and it's kind of a hurdle, there is an agentic workflow for it. And if you can't think of it right off the bat, I'd recommend you go to one of the chatbots and just talk about it. Say, I'm trying to do this task. Maybe I need to hire a person. Maybe I don't. Is this something that an agent can be built for? And how can I map that out? What would that look like? So I really hope everybody starts doing this. I've found it very, very helpful. I can do a lot more, using AI. Of course, you guys know I am totally drinking the Kool-Aid and I'm on board. And it was an amazing AAD. I want to thank everyone for all the comments and all the love that was given to DermGPT. I felt pretty good, leaving it, but continue to give us comments and we will keep sharing information on prompting and education. If you haven't quite signed up for DermGPT yet, you can feel free to go to www.dermgpt.com. Go ahead and sign up because you'll end up on our listserv, and we send out educational information and updates, such as possibly our app might be coming soon. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but sign up for things like that so we can keep you updated. Alrighty, well, thanks as always, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks for joining us today on the Future of Dermatology podcast. If you enjoyed learning about the science behind skin, make sure to subscribe and we'll see you next time. As a reminder, this podcast is for educational purposes only, not for medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider.